in a sun-drenched plains of old Mandara, where the rivers sang ancient songs and the winds carried the whispers of spirits, there ruled a king known as Obamoru, the Iron-Hearted. His palace, built from black stone and gold, towered above the humble homes of his people, casting a long shadow over the land. Obamoru was feared more than he was loved. His eyes were cold like river stones, and his voice, when raised, could silence the birds. He ruled not with wisdom, but with whips. His heart had grown hard after the death of his queen, and in his bitterness, he took his grief out on the innocent. Taxes rose like the midday heat, and punishments were handed out like grain. Among the many souls captured in his cruel reign was a girl named Abebi. Abebi wasn't born a slave. Her mother had been a skilled weaver, her father a gentle storyteller. But when Obamoru's warriors raided her village for defying his tax, her parents were slain and she was taken as a spoil of war. She was no more than a girl of 13 summers when she was brought to the palace. Years passed, and Abebi grew into a woman of striking grace. Though the palace beat her, starved her, and forced her to scrub its floors, her spirit remained unbroken. Her eyes still sparkled with the stories of her people, and her voice, when she sang alone in the laundry courtyard, could calm even the restless winds. One day, as fate would weave its cruel thread, her singing reached the ears of Prince Adejare, the only son of Obamoru. Adejare was unlike his father. He was quiet, thoughtful, and often wandered the palace gardens alone, speaking to birds and feeding the stray goats. Though royalty, he had always questioned the iron grip of his father's rule. When he heard Abebi's song, it was as if a forgotten part of his soul had been awakened. He began to seek her in secret, hiding behind pillars, pretending to stroll while she washed linens. Slowly, their eyes began to meet. Words were never exchanged, only glances, then nods, then lingering smiles. Love grew between them like wildflowers between cracks in stone, and so their secret began. Late at night, under the silver gaze of the moon, Prince Adejare would sneak into the servant quarters. Abebi would wait, her hands still damp from laundry, her heart beating louder than the palace drums. They would sit beneath the ancient baobab tree, speaking in whispers, sharing dreams of freedom, of peace, of a life far away from the throne. But nothing stays hidden forever. One of Obamoru's spies, a jealous guard who once sought Abebi's favor, saw the lovers beneath the tree. He reported to the king, twisting the tale with venom. "Your son," he spat, "shares his bed with a slave." Obamoru flew into a rage. Not only had his son shamed the royal name, but he had done so with a girl born of rebellion. That night, as the lovers sat beneath the tree, Obamoru's guards descended like wolves. They seized Abebi, bound her in chains, and dragged her through the palace in front of stunned servants. Adejare tried to fight them, but his own father had him thrown into the dungeons. In the days that followed, the skies darkened over Mandara. A storm came that tore through the land. Trees uprooted, cattle lost, roofs shattered. The elders whispered that the spirits were angry, for love should never be punished. But Obamoru paid no heed. He decreed that Abebi would be executed at dawn, her body thrown to the river to wash away the shame. As the hour approached, The palace courtyard filled, not with cheers, but with heavy silence. Abebi was led forward in a white cloth, her face calm, her eyes steady. Before the blade fell, she turned to the skies and sang the same haunting melody that had once brought a prince to tears. And then, silence. Prince Adejare never saw her again. When he was released days later, his heart was shattered. He no longer ate. He no longer smiled. He would visit the riverbank where her body had been cast, sitting for hours, whispering her name. And one night, he walked into the river and did not return. Obamoru, once so powerful, was left with silence. His son gone, his name cursed, his throne cold. It's said that even the palace birds refused to sing. And so, in his loneliness, the iron-hearted king withered away, not from war or poison, but from a sorrow he could not command. Years later, the people of Mandara still sing of Abebi and Adejare, two hearts who dared to love in a land ruled by fear. They say, when the wind blows over the river at dusk, you can still hear her song, and if you listen closely, the river sings back. Now, children of the firelight, before we rise and let the embers sleep, listen well to the lesson wrapped in sorrow, for not all stories end with laughter. Some end with truth. You see, in the land of Mandara, power wore a crown and love wore chains. A king ruled with fear, believing iron hands could mold loyalty and obedience. But the heart, yes, the heart bows to none. It listens not to titles or thrones, but to the rhythm of truth, of kindness, and of longing. Abebi and Adejare, they were not just lovers, they were a question to a cruel answer, a flower growing to stone, a melody in a place of silence. They showed us that love is brave, that it dares to bloom even when it is forbidden. And sometimes the world in its hardness may not reward that love, it may try to bury it, but even when love dies, it leaves seeds. And those seeds grow in the stories we tell, in the rivers that remember, and in the winds that carry songs of the fallen. So, when you find yourself in a place ruled by fear, remember Abebi. When you are told to love only what is allowed, remember Adejare. And when your heart trembles with a truth it dares not speak, remember that even whispers beneath a baobab tree can shake a kingdom. That, my children, is the lesson of their tears. Let it not be forgotten. I hope this story inspires you, and please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you, and see you in our next story. Love from Tales That Teach.